I ain't did nothing to nobody because I'm black. Yeah, all you have to do is just turn the news on, turn it on, turn it on, turn on the news, and you will see black people, black men. I can get specific. And I know my black sisters out there, Hispanic Latino sisters, oh no, we dying too, plan. Look at Breonna Taylor, we dying too. Listen, and it's a tragedy, real talk. But brothers, like black men is getting massacred out this piece right now, bro. Whether you trying to step outside your house, your boys getting shot at, you getting shot at, grandpa getting like damn. So I'm gonna pull it back for a minute. I'm gonna pull it back. Hopefully you join us today on Urban Talk Radio. I'm gonna tell you how you're gonna get on the show and how you'll be able to join today. So if you're just tuning in today on Urban Talk Radio 103.5 FM, you can tune in on this show and stream it live on your phone by logging on to newhavenindependent.org. You can also join us at Facebook at Bold Minds, and on Twitter at Bold Minds. In the studio today, I have Sheldon Tucker. Sheldon's been on before. Sheldon's a community leader, and I'm gonna put it down the way he put it down to me. Longtime community organizer, leader, Gangs of Dads for 7 years. He's been in different school programs. He's worked on this, as we say, he's been out there in them streets, working on the streets with the community, 15 years as a union glazer. So for people that don't understand being in a part of a union and being in a position like a union glazer, you don't wake up one morning and say, I'm going to be a union glazer. You got to put in work. That's like going to get a degree where you want to try to be like a sociologist or a psychiatrist. You have to, first of all, get somebody to train you. Then you got to work under people who have the experience and the knowledge. And then after that, you got to put in a certain amount of hours in order to become what is considered to be pretty much an expert at doing that. So I want to commend you for that. And since now he's certified and licensed and currently working on a new hospital in Stanford. I've known Shelton for a very long time. We've actually worked on a couple of projects together, a documentary where we were trying to reduce, what was it, the drug zone. Lock a brother up, like got 3 bags of crack, and it's like, got you, 3 bags of crack. So now you under arrest. With possession with intent to sell, possession within 1,500 feet of a school. And if you live in a place like New Haven, every block got a school. So you catching a felony on every 3 bags of crack, dope, marijuana, whatever you got. But we have worked on some things, and that was with HBO. Didn't get paid, but we did a lot. So Sheldon, I want to welcome you to the show today. And we're going to talk about a sensitive topic now. I'd be remiss this weekend. Another young man was murdered in the city of New Haven. I believe it was Sunday night. Another black man died in the city of New Haven. And that became New Haven's 16th homicide in the city for the year. We had 16 homicides, and it's basically, I hate to say, kind of like we're bringing in the new month, but we're bringing in a new month with 16 homicides, which is a serious pace, considering all things that's going on, and there's different approaches. So Sheldon, last week, what we talked about was the surge in gun violence. So it seems to be a massive surge in gun violence. Example, 2010 in New Haven. So I'm gonna just stick with New Haven for right now, then we can switch around. But in New Haven in 2010, we had 24 homicides. And New Haven then was considered to be 25 of the 25 most dangerous cities in America, with 24 homicides, and that was in 2010. Then we dialed forward And in 2013, homicides dropped by 4. We had 20, but in 2013, we had the mass shooting at the Key Club on October 26th, where we had 6 people shot, 1 person fatally shot, which actually was my cousin. That was a mass shooting. At that time, New Haven was ranked of one of the most violent small cities in America. That was with 20 homicides. No pandemic, no COVID. That was just 20 homicides. So now we are in a pandemic, and we've got just seems like almost 3 weeks ago, the young man Deshaun Smith, who was the 14th homicide in the city, and that was on August 22nd, where 6 people, like in 2013, 6 people were shot in the city of New Haven, and 1 person died of the 6, which was Deshaun Smith, who they said was a rising boxer and a good kid. So there was nothing to add. He just got out of prison. There was nothing to add. Oh, you know what? He might have had a warrant that we'll later vacate. There's nothing to add. There's no dirt to put on the kid. The kid got murdered. Shouldn't have got murdered. And, now we are with 16 homicides, having worked in law enforcement, and I'll consider myself at this point an expert at gun violence, urban gun violence, and regular gun violence. That 16 homicides going into the last day of August, or the first day of the month, we are paced right now. We will outpace those 24 homicides. We will likely outpace the 24 homicides that were recorded in 2004. We're going to outpace those. So in 2004, if we were of the, top dangerous cities in America, everybody's dangerous in America right now. It'll be interesting to see where we wind up at the end of the year. So, Shells, I just wanted to get your take. I mean, there's so many things going on. You have been on literally all the front lines. You've been on the front line about gun violence, fatherhood, mentoring, community wellness, Black Lives Matter, police reform. And it's clear that Black Lives Matter, some people are saying, has a massive impact in slowing down. This just has a massive impact. So there's my man, TJ is on there. I see you, bro. Good morning. There's a massive, seems to be a massive slowdown in police engagement with the community. This is nationwide. So before I turn over to you, I'll give you these numbers. This was last week in New York, not this, but this is the 27th, 28th. On the 28th of New York that weekend, there were 45 people shot and 8 killed. And as of last week, NYPD shootings of shootings, people shooting each other, was up 82% from last year. 82% from last year. And according to some of the information overnight from this past weekend, they had something like 52 shootings in one weekend. Chicago, same thing, rolling 30, 40 shootings in a day. And then we look on the TV, which was just a few days ago, and let me just pull this up. We had the police shooting in South LA. Right after, we just had a police shooting in this Kenosha place. Yep. So on top of us shooting each other, South LA man shot, and DeJohn Kizzy, real serious. It's the power. I know people say his name and those different things, but this one I'm watching, I'm following. He shot on the 31st. So we had a homicide. Looks like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, on that Sunday, and then we got another man shot in LA on the 31st, and then somebody is saying it's Shafiq. So what does somebody getting shot in New Haven got to do with somebody getting shot and killed, a black man getting shot and killed by the police in LA. Because we watching the damn news. That's why. We watching the damn news.
Exactly.
And we watching this stuff and we like, damn. And then you turn on TV and you go, damn. Like we killing each other, and then the police shooting you for a damn bicycle violation. Like, damn. Like damn, like look, like word up. Like I am a retired law enforcement, and I got people up in that piece. My son is in the academy, and you know what? I care about police. I police officers that I love. Right? It's my profession. That's what I did. That's my trade. But damn, shoot a dude on for damn riding a Huffy or a bicycle violation because you got sucker punch in the face. Really, my bro? Really? If you're working in law enforcement, man, real talk. If you're working in law enforcement and you can't get punched in the face, bro, go do something else, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
But coming back on a dude and you know what I mean, and gunning a dude up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some straight up neighborhood stuff, bro. That's straight corner store while we got 16 homicide type stuff. We telling each other, put the guns down. Yo, duke it out with your hand. Police get punched in the face on a month. Why are we even pulling people over for a bicycle violation? It's COVID, damn it.
Again.
Yeah. So anyway, talk about it, Shelton, man. What? Oh. You had some talk last week, and you was like, yo, the violence is crazy.
Yeah.
And you was like, you had a perspective. What's your perspective, man?
No, man, perspective changes all the time because of all the different evolutions, if you will, of the violence and stuff that we're seeing. Like, for instance, the shooting that just happened in LA with a man, his engagement with the police basically started with him riding a bike where he shouldn't have been riding.
That's Kizzy.
Yeah, and reports say that the man tried to escape the police. There was a scuffle. He allegedly sucker punched one of the police, and when he dropped the bag and tried to run. And in this the items that he dropped, the police allegedly saw a handgun, and then they pulled their weapons. Even though he didn't have the handgun in his hand, they pulled their weapons and shot him down, shot him dead. Not to begin the conversation with police accountability bills and things of that sort, but this example in LA is one of the main. This is a perfect example of why so many people push for the police accountability bill, because for one, it says different things to different people. It speaks to different people in a different way. Of course, obviously, it speaks to the majority of the police in a negative way because you see the backlash, you see the pushback. But for the people in the community, for them, it means that there's a chance that an officer can be held accountable for their actions, not accountable for doing their job, but accountable for their actions. And everyone understands that policing is a dangerous job, and the risk of loss of life on both sides is a part of that job. We understand that, and the police have to deal with all different types of individuals, including armed individuals, dangerous individuals, individuals that hate the police. We understand that, but there seems to be a climate to where police have realized that they can kill someone, especially if they're black, especially if they're a black man, and get away with it under almost any circumstance. And especially when a weapon's involved, it's almost like open and shut case. You know, there was a weapon involved. I don't care if the man was 10 yards away from the weapon. Was there a weapon involved? Oh yeah, open and shut. And I think that some police have come to see this. And over time, this has changed the climate of policing, because I remember when I was younger, there was a thing where police knew that if you shot someone, especially if you shot him in the back, there better be a weapon laying underneath that person when the investigators get there. You know, and there used to be a urban legend that some police would carry a revolver in their ankle, so if they shot someone, they could place the gun or the knife on the scene. Nowadays, there seems to be an open season that the police can shoot and kill someone under the most non-strenuous circumstances, and as long as they said that they fear for their lives, they have the right, they're exonerated. And I don't think that's fair, because imagine if that right was given to everyday citizens. You know how many white people I scared just walking past them on the street, not even thinking about them, minding my business. Imagine if they gave that right to citizens. You know how many black people would be getting shot down and killed every second, not every day, every second across this country. So I think that's something that's so open like that. There has to be some accountability, because we're in a country where fear of black people is a part of the fabric. It's conditioned into people. Of course, someone can, may have a fear of black person, unhealthy fear, healthy or unhealthy. So I think that cases like this show that there needs to be accountability, because I think that, some police have starting to get this gang mentality. Just like in the streets. Imagine if in the streets, I can tell you right now, if a gang member got arrested in a shooting, and say this was nationwide news, a gang member got in a shootout, and he was a convicted felon, uh, uh, long arrest record. Now he has this gun. He runs into his enemies on the street who say that they're going to kill him. He pulls out this gun, guns them down. He goes to court. He explains that, yes, I'm a convicted felon. Yes, I had no reason having that gun. But look, in my neighborhood where I live, it's dangerous. I'm a gang member because this is something that was conditioned into me when I was a child. I knew no better. I grew up into this. This is generations. My grandmother, my grandfather, my uncle, aunts, they were all gang members. I'm now a gang member. And in this lifestyle, it's dangerous. There are people that want to kill me. So I ran into some of my rivals. I know I shouldn't have had a gun, but thank God I had a gun, because I would be dead and my children wouldn't have anyone here to raise them. And if that guy got exonerated, if the court system let him off, and that was national news, you know how many gang members would be loading up, getting ready to shoot their rivals down and have a story right there, just like that guy's story, ready for the court so they can get off? It would change the climate. And I believe that all these exonerations of the police under whatever circumstances has changed the climate of policing to the point that now when an officer is afraid, they don't have to pause. They don't have to think. They can just shoot to kill. And what that is open is the door for people who don't like black people, who hate black people, who want to kill a black person. It has opened the door for them to exert this racism or this hatred towards these people and hide behind this law. And that's how I feel about it.
There's another side of this discussion, and sometimes for our viewers, and listeners, people are split in the black community and across
Absolutely,
the country. Hey, I want to be sympathetic to Black Lives Matter movement, if that's where a person's mindset is. I want to understand the police shootings, if that's where my mind is. But I'm not understanding, guys, why, with all this stuff going on in your community with the police, why are you guys shooting and killing each other?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And as I was actually in Newhallville yesterday at a church meeting with one of the clergies on a different topic, the female clergy, she said to me, I don't get it. We had a homicide literally one block over from her church. And she said, I can't even hardly find any information about this homicide, anywhere on like the Facebook piece, or it's just not out there. It's not out there like if he would have got shot by a cop, right? You get shot by the police, it makes national news, and it should. It should. I would totally agree. But Pookie shoots Snooki, and it's literally like a line across the bottom of the screen, and we keep it moving. It's like watching the new Star Wars. We're interested in the new Star Wars. We don't care about the character credits. We don't care who made the film. And some are saying it is that kind of being that level of being despondent or desensitized that almost creates a new normal in the black community to say, you know what, we're poor, we're disenfranchised, we have 400-year history of slavery, depending on where your start date is. There's systematic racism. And then we just kind of get into this let me as a black person identify all the broken pieces of the system.
Yeah.
As I'm identifying all the broken pieces of the system,
Mm-hmm.
then I say, well, it's the system that has put us in this situation to kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you respond to that?
What?
What's your response for that?
Well, for me. It's a deep conversation, and it's one that is generational. You know, the solution and the answer to it crosses generations. It We don't want to get to a place to where the we don't want the police shootings to get to the place where violence in the community is. What we're seeing is where you say, you know, Pookie shoots JoJo and no one says anything or people don't say much. And when there's a police shooting, it's national news. And what we're seeing is this is the result of a people that have been desensitized to what they're seeing to an extent and have normalized it. So not normalize it to the point where it's okay, but normalize it to the point of they don't see the deep destruction in it. God forbid we get to that point with these police shootings. God forbid, because it's I find myself coming across these police shootings because you know I pay a lot of attention to the news, so I'm always looking at independent news. So there are a lot of police killings and things that happen, vigilante killings that happen across this country every day that never hit national news that I come across because I'm a person that digs and I like to research. I like to know what I'm talking about, and I dig into these things. And sometimes it just gets to the point where it's just mind blowing. You know, you just reading all these cases of black men and black people being shot down by the police and vigilantes and things of this sort. And sometimes I just scroll right past it. The killing that happened the other day in South Los Angeles. When I saw it, I had probably the same natural reaction that a lot of black men have. You know, you get that rage inside, you get that deep sadness. But I just moved on because after a while, you know, when these things happen over and over and over, it's only natural that you do get desensitized to it to the point. And in the community, when people start to look around at the different ways that we had, you know, our community has been targeted in the past and things have been perpetuated against us, um, there comes a point where people start to get hopeless. And a lot of times in our community, they look at this mind state as just victimhood. And some people it is, but in a lot of ways it's hopelessness. Um,
Do you think
it,
people? Like so there's a theme that's going across America right now,
mhm,
coming from law enforcement officials and mayors. Bill De Blasio, in particular, was one when he was asked about this surge in violence. He said, "Hey, listen, what's on August 19th, after a whole night of violence, that night they had uh, something like 45 people shot, like in 2 days, 8 people killed." And he said, we, we got hit with the absolute perfect storm. It's just this absolute perfect storm of a health crisis and an economic crisis and a
mhm,
budget crisis and a social crisis and now an uptick in crime. And it'll come to pass. We just have to ride it out. I mean, is that where we're at?
to,
Is this some type of perfect storm? I mean,
to an extent, yeah, it definitely is. I mean, if we're gonna get into, you know, the uptick in violence and things of that sort and why, we can't just look at the fact that, oh, there's a bunch of people, you know, killing people and shooting people and this and that across the country. We have to look into why. If you look at the psychological aspect and things like, you know, trauma, and we look into the effects that this isolation, sudden, you know, unexpected isolation will have on people right now, we got to, instead of looking at the uptick in just violence, we need to be looking at the uptick in anxiety in this or across this country, depression across this country. There are children whose only real sense of community and care and even nourishment was in school no longer have that. There's kids that who were basically latchkey kids, and the only time they were looked at after were when they were in school, and that's taken away now. There's kids who that for me, school for me helped keep me away from the things in the community that were the gravitational pull to the streets, to the point where even though I did get in trouble when I was young, I served time in prison. I did things. I made a lot of the same mistakes these youth are making now. My education gave me something to fall back on. So when I wanted to go another direction, I had something to grab onto. There's a lot of guys my age that dropped out of school when I was coming up who have nothing to fall back on now, because they don't even have that. These guys are in their 40s and they don't even have a high school education. So even though they want to do the right thing, they can't go forward. So they have no choice but to be stuck in this cycle of the street and drugs and crime. So there is a lot of kids who that opportunity has been taken and is being taken away and drastically changed because of school, this pandemic. So we have to look at that too, because what's going to happen, the uptick in dropouts that's going to happen, the uptick in domestic violence that's going on. This pandemic is affecting a lot of things, because basically what we're seeing is the effects of almost imprisonment. People now are kind of getting an idea of what it's like for people to be in prison in a way, and they're allowed to leave out of their homes and go. So imagine if people are going crazy from being in their homes now from this pandemic, not being able to move the way they want to. Imagine the psychological toll that being in a room the size of your bedroom, the size, not your bedroom, smaller than that, the size of a bathroom, for 23 hours a day in and day out for years. Imagine the effect that has on you. So, and speaking of that, we have the COVID going through the prison now. So imagine how much the experience of prison is now, with a deadly disease going around and people dying and not being able to get out. People coming in with 6-month sentences and dying. This COVID thing is affecting us. It's definitely the perfect storm across this entire country. I believe that, and it's something that we have to ride out. I don't know how we have to come together to ride this out, but it's definitely something we have to ride out.
Well, I've had several conversations with people over the weekend from different cultures and call them lifestyles, both economic and otherwise. And I even caught myself at times talking, and it was like, sometimes when you can talk, I talk a lot anyway, but and you get going, you get rolling, as we say, and it's almost like you step outside yourself and you be listening to yourself going, yeah, and I stepped outside of myself and I was like, damn, dog, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you, the doomsday preacher? My outlook, I'm very pessimistic on the outlook of where we are in this country. To be honest with you, I think that the country has moved into one of the most dangerous places in societal history.
I agree.
We are someplace, from my research, even more dangerous than the 1967 Chicago riots or the Watts riots, and the list goes on and on. I remember it was, I believe it was 1966 or 1966 riots of New York, the Harlem riots. Josephine Baker, the famous artist, dancer, songwriter, singer at the time, she was like the Beyonce of her time. She was like the Beyonce of her time. She reported in the news, she said that because of the racism and the violence in America against Black people, she said the thought of America makes her sick all over. And she, like James Baldwin, who had similar feelings, like Paul Robeson, they moved to France, where they lived their lives out in France. They just said, you know what, I'm out of here, right? And several others did it. Kwame, who we now know, Stokely Carmichael, who moved to Africa and changed his name to Kwame Nkrumah. These were people that were part of the movement. They were part of the try to make the change. And after a while, they just, hands up and I'm out. So there's to be layers of dynamics. So, one, I'll point out, we have the ongoing, and I'll use the overused word of systemic, but we have this constant ongoing trend of urban gun violence in our African American communities. So where Mayor de Blasio and others say, oh, this is part of the perfect storm, I'm going to say this is a weather condition that we've got to contend with every day, and we've been dealing with that. That's no new storm for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I, as a retired Black man, 53 years old, 21 and a half years in the police department, that when I travel around, in my city, a little bit more comfortable, but outside of my city, in other places, in other states, in other cities, that I've got to put on my conscious hat of, oh, I'm Black, don't be looking around like crazy. The fact that I've got to do that, that's no new storm. That's a current weather condition that we tune on every day, every single day. The fact that we got to get up every morning as Black people, and particularly I'm speaking to me and you as Black men, and take our stream of wealth, how we make our money, we can't even take it for granted. We don't have the luxury of saying, you know what, I'm good, I got a sick day, I can burn that sick day today, and I'm gonna stay home and chill. We still might do that, but we're home in a guilty mindset like, damn, I gotta make sure that I'm not out of pocket because somebody might see me at the beach and I booked off, and I gotta go back to work and contend with that. That's that.
Me.
That's that unfair advantage, or disadvantage in the workplace. That's no new weather condition. That's the weather condition for us every single day, and now we've got this new thing. We got this new thing where, even with recordings of you getting shot or whatever, going back to just recently, where you had the Jacoby Blake, young man Jacoby Blake, shot in Kenosha, and nobody knew where the hell Kenosha was.
Heard of that too, yeah.
I ain't trying to go there no more because they on some they rolling. But it's in Wisconsin, so everybody's familiar with this. A young man gets shot 7 times in the back by a police officer after a scuffle, and they're trying to arrest him. And then they add all of the. They do the a Sunday. They added make ice cream Sunday. Well, he had a warrant and all that stuff. But that's not the issue. The issue is they have a Black Lives Matter rally 2-3 days later on the 3rd day, and young white male, 17 years old, shows up with an assault rifle. Later claims from the reports that, hey, listen, I was here to render first aid to anybody who needed it.
Yeah.
Claim to get in a scuffle, shoots and kills 2 people, walks down the street with his hands up, yo, what's up, and goes back home.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. He did not even legally have the right to possess that gun in Wisconsin.
But he has an endorsement of support from the president of the United States.
Got one of the top lawyers. So now we've added a new layer. It reminds me of the Dolan Roof incident, where the young man goes into South Carolina church, prays with Black people, or attempts to act like he's praying, and then he shoots all of these Black people, and then he says, "I want to start a race war." Right? So it's like we are contending with. I gotta see Shelton. That's my brother. I love you. If we have a conflict, let's work it out. I'm gonna put the guns down and have that conflict removed. At best, maybe I'll punch you. Maybe you punch me. At least that's what we hope. We would prefer that over a gun. And then we would prefer to be able to talk about it over that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yo, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, then, just don't talk to me then, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to work out that.
Yeah.
While we're working out that, we still got to contend with the long-standing historical connection between Black men, slavery, and the creation of America. Right?
Yep.
Now you got to worry about somebody that's connected to a radical white wing group, because that's what we need to call it what it is. Listen, I'm not against white people. I don't have an issue with white people. I got an issue with anybody trying to kill me because I'm black. And I definitely got an issue with somebody trying to kill me when you're black, when you're white, and you walking around in broad daylight and you ain't getting stopped, and you got an assault rifle, and you get to walk away from that, my G.
People,
and you know what I'm saying? I'm being shot on a bike. What's up?
This is the thing. People don't realize the whole psychological aspect to all of this. The problem with the conversation of, like they say, the overused word of systemic racism, things of that sort. The problem with that is that, in my opinion, this conversation has been ignored for so long that we're so far past it that to this point, people, it's almost like we're in the middle of the alphabet and we've gone on to R, and the solution is at N, and we're at R and we're dancing around trying to find a solution, and the solution is back there. We talk about money in the community, healthcare, education, and things of those sorts. We talk about it as a footnote to the solutions of what's going on. We don't discuss it as a real thing the way we discuss mandatory minimums, the way we discuss gun laws and things of that sort. We don't discuss those things. So when we ignore them, and then the problem just exacerbates itself, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Then we say, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And now when someone comes out and says, hey, how about putting some more money into the community schools and things of that sort, the after school program? Now it sounds almost like an ant shouting at an elephant, because we've ignored it for so long. One day we're going to have to stop all this debate all across the country. All of us are going to have to stop and really deal with the real problems of what's going on. And that's the only way we're going to get to the end of this. Otherwise, this is going to be something we're talking about 100 years from now. What do we do? What do we do? But by then it's going to be a lot worse. At the end of the day, we talk about, at this point, we're 40 something years into the drug war at this point. So now when we say, hey, they put drugs in the black community, it almost sounds like an excuse, but it really happened. They really planted drugs in our community. They really came with laws to back those things up, to lock all the people up. They took away education, defunded schools and things of that sort. And that's what got us here. That's a part of what got us here, a part of it. So without addressing those things and really fully addressing them and not just mentioning them in a footnote, without really addressing them, we're not going to get to the solutions of what's going on. We talk about the gun violence and the things in this community, but without addressing the depression, the anger, the anxiety, the hopelessness, and all these things that's going on in the community, some of it exacerbated by what we see. Because trust me, when I watched that man walk down the street with an AK in his hand, walk by all those police officers, I had flashbacks to the time that I couldn't stand in front of my own house without getting stopped by a cop. I had flashbacks to the cop wanting to open up my underwear and check a flash with a flashlight and look and make sure I wasn't hiding drugs in my anal cavity. I had flashbacks of all that stuff. I remember that I still can't drive down some certain places without getting pulled over. So as a black person in this country, just watching that was I was getting another lesson. Y'all ain't S. And that was just another lesson.
You know what it actually did for me looking at that? It was really like an evaluation of currency.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like, if you're not really sure where you stand,
yes,
and food chain, if you're not really sure where you stand,
mm-hmm.
and the order of things in society, it was just a quick fact check, for anybody who was like, oh, we're all the same. I've heard it for, time immemorial. I don't care if you're black, white, yellow, green, purple, polka dot. Well, I ain't seen no damn polka dot people.
That's
and
right.
I ain't so green and so it's like, stop with that. Like really, bro. Like this is real serious. This is like, look, somebody gets shot and killed on TV. Let's forget about if Blake had a warrant. Let's forget that.
Yeah.
Because having a warrant does not justify you getting shot and killed. President got people in his cabinet that got arrested with warrants, but none of them were shot and killed. So we know that our Constitution doesn't say warrant equals being shot and killed.
Yeah.
Let's just say there is a scuffle. People have a lot of scuffles, but people don't get shot and killed over the scuffle. So the bottom line is, we're all home, we're all in COVID, we're all during the pandemic, we're all watching TV. So to see any violence on TV has a level of shockingness and disturbingness to them. But when you measure that up against the fact that this young white male can come to a protest with a big firearm.
Big gun, yeah.
Okay, a big one. The signature gun of mass shooting. This dude got the signature gun of mass shooting. Like every time you know that gun to be, like that's a mass shooting gun. He fits the national mass shooter profile. Black people in the march is feeling the same way like all black people feel around the country. Yo, I should take my gun to the march, but you know what? I ain't trying to get shot. I ain't trying to get shot by the police. I got a gun permit. I can't right.
We know that a black person with nothing in their hand is already a threat enough in itself.
So it's like, you know what? So I got something from the press. Yeah, I got a press thing. Yeah. So, we can go to the march. I don't go to marches, but I know people that go to march and be like, yo, I ain't carrying my gun because Connecticut's an open carry state. And so that means you can put your gun on you and you can carry it open. I ain't walking to Home Depot out of New Haven with no open carry. I ain't getting shot.
Nah.
Right? So my point is, it's a valuation that we live in a country where a 17-year-old white male can put on an assault rifle, buy a tactical sling. That's a tactical sling he has. People don't know, that's a tactical sling because it's allowed you just to hold, hang on your body, and you got quick access just like that. And we can't even ride a bike down the street in South LA during COVID when bike sales across the United States of America at an all-time record high because of COVID.
I was saying to people,
just get my commercial in. If you just joined us today on Urban Talk Radio, we are discussing the massive surge in gun violence in America. If you've missed any part of this broadcast, you can join the conversation at Facebook at Bull Minds or Twitter at Bull Minds, and you can stream this show live on your phone or go back and listen to it at your leisure at newhavenindependent.org. We are broadcasting live from the New Haven Independent Station, 103.5 FM in New Haven. So let's do this because we got about, Harry's going to probably give me the 3-minute warning. And I just want to add this note that this young man, I don't even want to say his name to give him power. He was not legally, he didn't have a legal right to possess that gun. He didn't have a legal right to possess that gun. So for all my law enforcement people out there, if you see somebody walking around in a Black Lives Matter rally where the majority of the people are black, and you see a young white guy walking around with a large assault rifle and nobody else has a gun, bro, how about it's a good time to stop and get an ID? But at any rate, Shelton, give us some solutions, man. You got to give us a one thing that we can do right now to try to get in front of the New Haven homicides. What's that one thing that we need to be doing? Put it like that. What's that one thing we need to be doing right now so that we don't have 30 homicides?
Intervention. We need intervention so that someone or some people can get in the middle of what's going on to get to the bottom of it. A lot of times,
do we need to go in the street? Do we need to go in the? That's my thing. What? Like what? Tell me that. What we got the street outreach worker program. We've got, we've got a lot of different things out there. But I know street outreach.
I think we have to be more present. While I'm one of those people that, I say when they say, what about the police? What about the community violence? And you can't react to everything that's going on. I think that we need to be a constant. We need to be constantly visual, and speaking out and stuff against this violence to the point to where we shift the culture, because a lot of the stuff that's going on is cultural. And we need to shift the culture to where we're more proactive instead of reactive. If we have people out speaking when the violence isn't up, then we can inspire those that want to be a part of nonviolence and peace. We can show them that they have somewhere to go. They have something else to do. And the only way we can do that is by constantly being visual. And I think that we need more people visual, not the same old, and I don't mean to make it sound that way, but same old church meeting or candlelight vigil when someone gets killed and then we move on. We need to constantly be vigilant.
How about jobs? Is jobs not
absolutely?
I was in Newhallville yesterday, and I saw a group of brothers out there. I don't want to say where they was at.
Yep.
About 8 of them out there shooting dice, and it was like, I was like, and I kept saying to myself, I'm waiting for the gunshots. Where am I? Make sure I'm out that line of fire.
Yeah.
I was working, and the thing came to me as I remember back when I was on the running that area as a commander, and I used to drive through the neighborhood. I just pull up on the street and be like, yo, who need a job? And I would just like, either connect these dudes to jobs. And it just came back to me again. It's like, what if we, even like me and you, man, we just pick a day, we just roll through neighborhoods and see, who want to work, man, who want to get a job.
Definitely need that. There's so many guys out there that you could take off the corner in one day with a job. I always said the best way to take a gun out of a kid's hand is to put a job in it. It's something to do. It's a way to get wealth. You gotta remember, at the end of the day, when brothers started going on the corner selling drugs, they didn't do it because they just thought it was cool. They were trying to get wealth. They were trying to take care of their families and get paid. Ultimately, it became something else when the guns and everything came in, and but it was a way to get paid. It was a job opportunity. Drugs was a job opportunity. Someone that was poor could go out the next day and be able to make enough money to feed their families. So what you were doing to get that money was something else that comes later on. It took me a long time when I was to even acknowledge or to realize that I was a part of the destruction of my community. It took a long time to realize that when I was doing it, I was just trying to take care of my family. But you got to step outside of that and look back. And you can't do that until you're given opportunity to step out. I don't need to sell drugs because I make enough money to take care of myself. It's not because I'm better than anyone, or these guys are lower than me, or I'm smarter than anyone. I have an opportunity to take care of my family. I don't need to sell drugs.
You got a hard break coming up.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Shelton, for joining us on Urban Talk Radio. And today on Urban Talk Radio, our guest was Sheldon Tucker, community activist. We were discussing the massive surge in gun violence across the U.S. Remember, Urban Talk Radio airs every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. You can log on to NewHavenIndependent.org for our latest podcast, previous shows. And we got to connect, man. I got an idea. I think we should just go in the neighborhood, man, and do